Hi guys, it's Carissa, and it feels like it has been ages since I filmed a video, and it probably kind of has. The time is just passing so quickly, it's almost frightening. I don't even have a child, and I don't know how to get the things done in a day that I need to do. So I imagine that will drastically change, even for the worse, later on, but I just marvel at how quickly the time goes and how fast I lose track of my ability to get things done and do things at least as quickly as I used to. Some of that has to do with the fact that every other day I have sort of a heavy feeling, lazy day where I just feel run down and I feel like I maybe did too much the previous day. And other times I think it's just because it just seems like it's going by so fast, all of it. I need to do my my nails are all rough looking, and we're going out of town for a few days soon, and it's hard. It's hard because sometimes, say I have to make an appointment for something and I know I need that appointment, I have this moment of dread where I'm like, I don't know how to fit that into my day because I have so much. The to-do list is just never ending. That's certainly exciting, but it's also terrifying. So I don't know, sometimes when I'm laying down to try and sleep at night, instead of worrying about all the things that I have to do the next day, I just find myself in just such a place of peace, and I just feel so grateful for the struggle and for the hustle, that I don't even feel like I have time to let it bother me. So it works out pretty well, I guess. The first thing I'd like to address in this video is how much I appreciate the support I received when I basically announced that I was going against my prior wish to have a doula. I was almost preparing myself for lectures, and even people who would try to make me feel guilty about making that decision. People who would try and share horror stories to sway me in the other direction. Because let's face it, it's YouTube, and sometimes people only come out of the woodwork to say rude things or just contradictory things. Not even rude or not even mean, but just to disagree with you. That's when they want to pull out their keyboards and say something. So I was kind of ready for that, and it was upsetting because I was respecting that decision as part of a team. It was Mike's wish to not spend that kind of money because he wants to step up and take as much of an active role in being my birth partner as possible. And I realized that a doula doesn't take place of that person. And I know that there are a lot of people who after the fact say that they wish that they had a doula or that they can't imagine not having had one. But I was finding I was getting a lot of stories to the contrary. And thank you to all of you who took the time to send me a private message and tell me that you didn't think a doula was a great idea for you and why. Because some of that really highlighted things that sounded like they would be so true about me and that I hadn't even considered. I truly had not even considered some of those things. Just one for an example, because I don't want to pull out everyone's personal stories into the light, but one that I feel like was a pretty consistent thing that I heard that made me kind of laugh because I couldn't believe how much it sounded like me is the fact that they didn't want to be touched whatsoever. Not by their partners, not by their doulas. They wanted no massaging or touching or anything of any kind. And that sounds so much like the kind of person that I could tend to be. Sometimes, when I'm falling asleep at night even, and I'm not in labor, obviously, I'm just falling asleep and I'm just being a person and relaxed, and Mike tries to sort of rub my back to relax me before we fall asleep. It's almost like I feel like I have to allow it for a certain amount of time because it's such a sweet gesture. But sometimes it irritates me so badly because maybe he just keeps rubbing the same spot or the pressure's too hard or too little, and I just want him to stop so I can fall asleep, but it's keeping me from sleeping. But I appreciate the fact that he's doing it so much that it's like, well, I'm just gonna not say anything. It seems like such a strange concept, because I know there's some people who just die to have their backs rubbed, but it's not, the conditions aren't ideal, and it's just enough to irritate me and to make it worse than better. So I see that, I understand that from the perspective of having a doula there. You know, they know things that in theory could or should be helpful, and are you in the position to be, you know, to feel like you can say, don't do that, you know, like that's bothering me, or that's not helping, because how badly do you feel that that person's just there doing the thing that they're supposed to do? So, and I know every person's different, I know every circumstance is different, I just know myself, I just know me. I'm too polite and I'm too worried about everyone else all the time, and I know that when you're in labor, that's, you know, that it doesn't mean that I would remain that way, but just the thought of spending all that money and basically wanting that person to just not even be there was kind of hilarious to me, because I did get some feedback like that. So, but from the bottom of my heart, no matter what your opinion was on it, no matter what you had to say, I thank you for sharing that with me. Mainly because it was a huge sigh of relief. I think I only had 1 or 2 people who disagreed with our decision. And that's okay. You're totally allowed to disagree with it, and we may regret it in the end, but that's just what we're doing going forward. So I appreciate that. It made me feel so much better. So let's see, week 22 feels like it was ages ago. Oh my gosh. I started feeling a lot of movement, and very specifically, I believed that there was kicking involved. It was more than just that sort of bubbly feeling. There were some times when I could kind of pinpoint that something felt like an actual kick, and it was such an exciting feeling. And it's so hard because I can't describe it, and I feel like I've never really heard anyone describe it. It's not painful, but it is a little bit uncomfortable, at least if it continues to happen or if it's really forceful. But it's the most wonderful discomfort. It's just, you just don't even care. Especially because I noticed that most of the movement I would feel was at night when I was first going to bed. And I'd lay down, and most nights would be so exhausted I could barely keep my eyes open. I don't even want to like goof around on my phone. I just want to sleep. And I can't, because there's so much movement in my belly, and it's just so wonderful, and I wanted to just absorb every second of it and really, you know, be present for it. And sometimes after a while it would be like, whoa, what's going on in there? And I've noticed that it's just because she's so active at night. I really don't feel that at all during the day unless she's startled somehow. And I guess what I mean by that is I don't use an alarm clock when I sleep at night. I just wake up at the same time every day pretty much with Mike. And if I'm going to take a nap during the day, I feel too guilty about taking the time to take a nap, if that makes sense. I want to make sure that I know how long I'm planning to sleep. And if when I wake up I feel like I need more sleep, that is totally fine, but I'm going to set another alarm, because I don't want to just completely lose myself in sleep and sleep for 4 hours. So I'll set an alarm. Well, that alarm almost always startles me awake, and I don't know if she can hear it or if it's my physical reaction or both, but I sort of jump awake a little bit to get the alarm, and then I'll notice almost immediately after she's moving around a lot and probably not very happy about it. So I feel bad about that, but I almost enjoy it a little bit at the same time, but I don't know. So I noticed also in week 22, which it hadn't happened again since then. It was a theory I kind of tested, and it might have just been coincidental, I don't know. But in week 22, I noticed that she would respond a lot to hot foods, temperature hot, not spice. So I would have soup. I was on a soup kick for a while. I wanted soup every single night, and now I'm kind of sick of it. And it was really hot out, so I mean, it was kind of awful to have to heat up soup every night and to eat hot soup when it was kind of hot outside anyway, but that was just what I wanted. She doesn't always respond to food, but a lot of times it is food related. I'll start eating and then I'll feel her move. But I was feeling like that wasn't happening as much unless the food was really hot. And so I don't know if that's even possible that that would matter. I don't know if that's some sort of involuntary muscular reaction on my part that I don't, realize. I'm obviously not scalding myself. I wasn't even like burning my tongue. It wasn't even that hot, but it was just enough where I noticed that only when I would eat those things would she start moving. A couple of other things I noticed. One of them is that my upper lip was feeling really swollen. It kind of still does. Almost on the inside of my upper lip, like I bumped it or something. It just feels like it's swollen. It doesn't look larger to me or more prominent, but it feels a little bit strange. I don't know how else to explain it. It's kind of like going along with my theory that my nose has been getting wider, that almost like my upper lip is swelling also. And I know there's just nothing really else to say about that, just something I noticed, I guess. It just feels like I have a fat lip, like I hit myself in the face somehow. Another thing that was happening, now that I'm looking at this list, I am so grateful that this stopped. But for a couple of weeks, probably weeks 22 and 23, but I think that it tapered off in 23 because I remember it, but seems like it was a while ago, is that my belly button was really itchy, like the inside of my belly button. Oh, so itchy. And I, every now and then, couldn't take it anymore, and I would go in the bathroom and I would put a Q-tip in there and like twist it around to try and like scratch it the littlest bit that I could, and it would barely do anything to help. It was so annoying, and I didn't want to like jam my finger in there and itch at it, but sometimes I was tempted to. One day I thought maybe it's just dry, so I crammed a bunch of lotion in my belly button. I actually pumped a bunch onto my finger and I just sort of like poked it in there. And now that I'm saying that, I actually wonder if that did the trick, because I sort of have forgotten about it after that. Like, it just hasn't bothered me since. But it's such a weird itch to have, and such an annoying itch to have. Just be standing like in the grocery checkout line at the store and just feel like I'm so angry because my belly button is so itchy, and what an unattractive thing it would be to just start itching my belly button. And while I'm talking about physical things, I will talk about this. This is another thing that I noticed that has since stopped, thank goodness. I was finding that I was susceptible to very superficial, very slight vaginal tears after intercourse. It was like every single time. And I know that I have so much extra blood flow in my body right now, and a lot of me has been feeling very dry. My eyes feel very dry. My mouth feels dry a lot. So maybe just, my skin has been a little bit drier down there, and I wouldn't have known, and it would make it more susceptible to tearing. But it would be a really frightening thing to suddenly see blood on the toilet tissue, and it's not a lot, but it's just, any is, kind of shocking and disarming and stressful, even if just briefly. And I would kind of have to remind myself to calm down, and I wouldn't freak out or anything, but it's not a nice thing to see. So I had kind of figured out that that was the case. I tried to do some Googling to see if I could get some advice on that, or some just information on that, at least until I could see my doctor again, because I thought, well, I'll just ask her about it. It hasn't continued to be an issue, but I also couldn't find anything on it, because obviously when you Google some of those keywords, you're only going to find labor-related information. So I couldn't find any non-labor-related vaginal tearing or dryness or bleeding information. It was all related to giving birth. So I was like, well, that doesn't really help me right now, but it's just as well. It's not anything that I really need to stress about, because it comes and goes, and at least now I can kind of prepare myself for it if it is to happen. The best part of week 22 was that we had a second anatomy scan. If you remember, we had one in week 18, and they had mentioned to us, my previous doctor had mentioned that there wasn't a great shot of the heart, and he said he wasn't concerned. So he didn't set up an extra ultrasound or anything, but I did mention that to my new doctor when I saw her, and she said, I want to get another ultrasound then. So we went, and it was a whole new facility that's affiliated with our new doctor's office. And I don't know if this was just a one-off situation, because this is actually a different location than I'd normally go to. I guess they had a power outage and their system was down, so they said that they couldn't get it up before my appointment. Can you please go to this other building? So I don't know if this is just how this one appointment was, but I was so happy with the ultrasound that we had. I felt like she babied us a little even. It was a long appointment. We were there for almost 2 hours. And I had had a little too much water to drink. They told me to have a glass of water an hour beforehand, but I drink so much water throughout the day that I was just like, I'll be fine. Like, I didn't pay attention to how much I was having, and it turned out to be too much. So she had me empty my bladder 3 times while I was there, but she didn't seem irritated or annoyed. She was very thorough. She explained a lot of things, and she was just very nice. And that was a far cry from what we were used to at the other doctor's office. It may be that it's not in-house with our current OB, so it's a separate location that only does ultrasounds. So I don't know if that affects the way things run for them, and they're not on as much of a time constraint to match up with the doctor's schedule, but either way, it was such a breath of fresh air. It really was. So we got a whole bunch of pictures this time, and they do seem like they're better quality than the previous system as well. So there she is. There's a little profile, and we got to see her feet a lot. She was sitting breech, which I am suspicious that she does a lot, actually, because of where I feel kicks. Always seem to be sort of in the same place. So I would think that technically her head is up by under my left side rib cage, and then her feet come down at a diagonal towards my right side. And she doesn't change position a whole lot, if I had to guess. I don't notice that changing much at all. I haven't looked for her heartbeat since probably week 22, but I did look right about where it would be based on her sitting that way, and I found it almost instantly. So I am pretty sure that that's sort of her spot. I also think that she is most affected by me laying on my left side. So if I lay on my right side sort of just throughout the day to see if she will kick or move, just like check in on her. If I lay on my right side, it doesn't typically happen, but if I lay on my left side, I'll start to feel it. So there's something about laying on my left side that disrupts her position, and it will wake her up or get her attention in some way. So that leads me to believe even further that she's always in that one position. Let's not hope that's not always the case, but we'll see. It was confirmed again that she is a girl. So we have that image right there. Oh, sorry about my fingernail. And there's another profile shot. The tech said that she also had a hard time getting good pictures of the heart, and she said that there's a chance that we'll have to have a third anatomy scan. That stressed me out a little bit. She tried to reassure us and say don't worry about that, but it did make me feel a little bit nervous. Except for the fact that I think if they really did think there was something wrong, we would probably have more frequent ultrasounds than not. So the fact that I haven't heard anything, it's 3 weeks later, I haven't heard anything, that leads me to believe that everything looks okay so far. We got to see her hands a lot, and Mike and I joked that she has my sausage fingers. But here are a couple of pictures specifically of her hands. And the woman who did the scan also said, please, I don't want you to worry. It looks like she only has 4 fingers in this picture, but it's just the position that her hand was in when we took the picture. And we had a little bit of a laugh about that, but honestly, of all the things that could be wrong, missing a finger is not anything that I would be concerned about. She would still be perfect to me, so I'm not worried about that whatsoever. This last picture is of her feet, but it's a really difficult one to tell what you're seeing. Hold on. There's her feet. So she was sitting breech with her knees apart and feet crossed at the ankles for most of the scan. And she didn't seem to like the probe at all. Sometimes she would kind of wiggle around and fight back against it, but there's something about being able to see the baby that you've wanted so badly and that you just can't wait to meet, and that you're laying there for so long that it starts to feel like it isn't even real anymore. I don't know how Mike felt, but I know we were there for a long time, and I kept getting up and, you know, having to empty my bladder and come back, and she kept checking for other things, and even just looking at like her kidneys and all of these things, like just piecing together in my mind the fact that what I was experiencing was in fact happening. It wasn't some kind of dream. And then that was her right there. Like, just, I guess I have this disassociation issue where, because I was so overweight for so long, especially through a lot of our fertility troubles, and all of my weight was in my stomach, I have a lot of times where, I'm not saying I forget that I'm pregnant, but it almost feels like if I stop myself at any point throughout the day, at any given point, as long as I'm not feeling any kicks, I could truly believe that it's not happening. I could almost talk myself into believing that none of this is real. It's really strange because I just don't feel, it's not that I don't feel pregnant, I just don't feel like my body is that drastically different, or that I'm experiencing anything physically that's so alarming and so constantly reminding me that I am pregnant. I have been so blessed. I've had such an easy pregnancy. I mean, aside from anxiety troubles and just feeling tired or run down, I really don't feel that different a lot of the time. Even going off of a ketogenic diet, I've done videos on my other channel of the times when I would kind of take a break, or, you know, just for various reasons stop doing the diet for like a week or so, and I feel like crap. And I don't even feel that crummy not eating that way. I just sort of feel like this nice balance. I feel like this sort of peace to everything in my life, and I just feel so grateful for it all. But I also feel like, how is this real? How is this possible? And so sometimes I'll just be like working or doing whatever, and it's been a few hours since I felt her kick. Or even if it's been 10 minutes since I felt it. I just have this moment where I have to sort of stop and say, oh my gosh, this is real. Because sometimes it feels like for a split second it's like, oh, you're not pregnant. I don't know why that happens. It's probably because I just feel like I'm fat again, honestly. I feel like I didn't gain all of my weight back, but I just sort of feel like I'm in that same place physically. And it's hard to, and I have to kind of, I don't know, snap back into reality from that. So as far as my weight gain is concerned, I guess I should update you. I don't even know where things stood at week 22 versus what I had mentioned in week 21, but I'll tell you, as of today, I haven't really gained any more weight. I've been hovering around about 1 pound more than when I talked to you guys in week 21, and I'm week 24 right now. So I'm not as worried about it as I was. And I'm certainly trying to, I can attribute a lot of that, I think, to not eating as much fruit. Honestly, I have a couple of dates and some very unripe bananas frozen in my spinach smoothies every couple of days. So that is it for week 22. You can't even see it, but I'm wearing this cute little DIY teething necklace that I purchased on Etsy. I'll link the shop below for you. It's DIY in the sense that I just bought the materials and put it together myself. She just sends them and then you just assemble it yourself. But I also recently made a few purchases from a new shop of teething jewelry and teething accessories. And I'll be doing a review video on that soon for you, hopefully. I have to refilm it because I got some new things and I wanted to add more information for you. So that won't be up right away, but I just want you to know you can look forward to that. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and hopefully my video editing and filming schedule won't be affected too heavily by the next couple of weeks and everything that we have going on. But thank you for sticking with me through all of that. I know I've been awful about an upload schedule. I'm just trying to be easy on myself and just not put too much pressure on myself. If I wasn't working anymore, I would, trust me, I would get this stuff up a lot faster. But I feel like I need to work a little bit longer. It's just a couple more months at least. So that does affect things too. But thank you for not just running away and getting sick of me for not uploading regularly. And if you want more, I know I say this a lot, but if you want more up-to-date and current information, my Snapchat's probably the best place for it. I just upload pictures mostly, not a lot of video clips, and actually this week we started the nursery, so I've been posting some pictures of that as I've been working on it. So if you're interested in seeing things between updates, that's the best place to do it. And if that's not happening often enough for you, that is the best I can do right now. So, but thank you so much, you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.